is for direct cash relief. That's unprecedented. And if you only have a certain amount of money and you know that you're in the middle of a pandemic where a lot of people are out of work, having most of that money go to people who are lowest income, I think makes sense. In the long run, I'm an advocate of universal basic income, but in a crisis, I'm okay foregoing some help. And I kind of feel like it's very strange how I'm most disappointed in the Republicans who are, I don't think a single House Republican voted for this bill.
Not one.
And I see a lot of criticism of the bill, but then no alternatives being presented. And it just seems kind of disappointing. I've been on Twitter observing a lot of the Trump Congress people, and they're just really big into kind of being snarky and not constructive, in my opinion, like pointing out, making accusations of hypocrisy, which might be true in some cases, but then like come up with a solution. That's why I like Yang so much. Like he had proposals to solve problems, and he didn't spend most of his time just kind of harping on what about, this other party, or what about that party when they did this, that kind of thing. So, but I think it's good that we are getting a stimulus. I'm glad a lot of the money is going towards public health. I think we need it. Is it perfect? No, but it's something.
So,
well, I'm agreeing with Tom.
Before we move on, what about your position there makes you feel like you're unpopular, or you're not going to win friends with that? Because that all seemed pretty standard and well thought out, and just really nothing objectionable about your position.
Well, I've seen a lot of criticism on Twitter of Biden saying, "Hey, this is not 2000. You're a liar. You are, beneath contempt.
Right.
You tricked us." And it's like, come on, he's also got to get something that ideally gets some bipartisan support. And 1400 versus 2000, yeah, they're different, but it's the spirit of it is there's help coming. And if we need to do another stimulus, I would be supportive of that too, where there was more cash relief. I mean, if it were up to me, there would be less support for large corporations, but it's a democracy, and there's a lot of different views.
I'm agreeing with you, Tom. It's a step in the right direction. That's all I'm saying. Whether it's I think it'll open up the floodgates to a universal one eventually. But whatever is helping, and that's just my 2 cents.
I'm wondering, wasn't the recurring payments for children also in the stimulus package that Biden had promised? The $250 per kid and $350 per child under 6?
I think so. Yeah, I haven't read all of the details of the bill, but I'm pretty sure there was a lot more help for children, and that seems like a good thing.
Yeah, so it's a complicated bill. There's quite a bit in it that what we didn't get was the $15 minimum wage. How do people feel about that?
Predictable and disappointing. Frustrating,
I'm glad he tried. Yeah.
Did he try?
There's more openness to it now than there has been in the past, and I don't know. I just feel like this is people are hurting, man.
Yes.
People. Yeah. This is a weird time. Like, why? And it's just so I'm just, again, so frustrated in the post-Trump era how not a single Republican is supportive of this stuff. It's like, you could quibble. We could criticize Biden all we want, but like, how is there nothing being presented on the Republican side?
Totally predictable. I mean, my expectations are that there's just really almost no overlap between rhetoric and policy action and voting, and in either party, but a bit more so even in the Republican Party than the Democratic. So.
Well, the irony is that Trump wanted the $2,000 payments, so and also I'm eventually I want a UBI where everyone has a floor to like replace a minimum wage entirely, so no one's reliant on labor for existence. That's like the true bottom line, because that opens the door to like exploitation if you're just right. But the irony is that Trump wanted more money in people's pockets, and the ones who are the Trump Republicans are the ones fighting it. So I don't know. It's weird. It's strange.
Yeah. You got to imagine, like, I think I remember the Trump supporters saying, "Oh no, Trump is for $2,000 for everybody and more cash support." But then, and why not vote for 1,600 for everybody? Why vote against it? Or if Trump supporters really wanted to show that they believe what they said, that Trump is for more cash relief, then propose a bill with 2,000. You could do that. I bet Pelosi would have jumped all over that.
Right? Yeah. I don't understand. It's just fighting, and kind of like just fighting for the sake of fighting. And it's like, if you're gonna fight for the people.
I did read an article where they don't believe that they're going to be punished for it electorally. They just don't that the public cares enough that they're going to see any other change between the people who are voting them. And they don't need to worry about what little they've lost as long as their districts stay the same for the next few years.
Yeah.
They can ride it out, and they're only worried about their own skin, not necessarily the future of the party. If it dies and they've still got their job until they retire, they're fine.
There are just really no systemic incentives for our elected leaders to help common people at all.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a gerrymandered district, which is pretty much everybody, you will win by just hitting on those wedge issues. And in the Republican districts, you watch how these Congress people communicate. Their whole re-election strategy is to own the libs, to just sort of say things that make liberals look bad, to make yourself look like you're defending freedom or whatever. And
to encourage blind loyalty, right?
Yeah, it's quite sad. And by the way, Mia, I just checked. You're right. It does include a $3,000 per child tax credit, which is up from $2,000. I don't think Biden really gets a lot of credit for that, but the bill's pretty good. I mean, I think it's definitely better than doing nothing, for sure.
It's better than nothing.
And
it's just
if
that
there
the
were
bar is
alternatives,
super low.
Well, one thing I will say is they have to try and get it in before the next package runs out, which is in mid-March. So they're racing against a deadline. Any fight from the Republicans, any fight at all, could delay it to the point where there is a lapse between the PPE protections and a lot of the protections that have been passed already. So they want to make sure that there's no fight, but also get their key issues in. And unfortunately, I guess 15 minimum wage was the sacrifice they decided to make.
That's totally predictable.
I mean, there are no excuses here. I mean, we have the money, and we have both houses or whatever, and it's like, okay, if the deal breaker or detrimental or deciding factor is like the 15 minimum wage or whatever, or all this other stuff, well then why not just make it like a standalone and pass it that way? Because people just need money right now, and they're, like we've mentioned, they're really struggling out here, and it's like we don't need more political theater. We just need to get something done, because mind you, there are other societies out there, much smaller than ours, way less resources than ours, and yet they manage to get stuff done at a quick rate and help their people, and not like take vacations or whatever and say, oh, they're gonna get this done next week or the week after, and they don't really follow through, and then they try to like say, well, oh, it's this party's fault. It's this party's fault. No, it's this party's fault. And it's like, and then and then they use that to like to make us like turn against each other and stuff, and
You'll
it's
see how serious they are
yeah.
about the $15 minimum wage if they do exactly that, put out a separate bill about it. Because they can pass it, it will take longer to pass it, but they can pass it independently if they want to.
People are dying, people are out on the street. This is unacceptable. And I'm like, for us to wait this long or whatever, and they're just taking breaks, and they're like, putting in one huge bill or whatever that they know, is that might not even pass in the Senate. Even though like it passed in the House of Rep, it's like we don't know because you still have like it's not just the Republicans, but you got to worry about Democrats like Manchin and Cinema or whatever, and it's just like right now like people need help. And then I heard that I actually watched this one video by Brian from Clear Value Tax. He mentioned that like there's a high possibility that there won't be another stimulus check. Like this will be our last one. So after all that, it's disgusting. It's like the American people deserve better. But I know that those in power, they have their own interests and self-interest and stuff. They don't care about they don't care about us. All they care about is their big donors and those on Wall Street. And it was pretty clear when Wall Street Bets took it to Wall Street's and the big donors or whatever. Like they were so quick to like investigate or like halt any sort of trading or investing in stock or whatever, but when it comes to this, they're taking breaks and they're having us wait months and stuff. It's come on.
I mean, here's the thing with
they're not even trying to hide it.
The Amy Coney Barrett, how long did that take? Like 3 weeks. Like Ginsburg's body wasn't even like cold before she took her seat. And you're telling me that the stimulus is taking this long? I don't know what's going on.
Well, that was played pretty dirty too, and we all know that as well. That's a whole separate commentary to make, though.
Well, the thing is that they're selectively incompetent. They're selectively terrible. When it comes to something that actually like helps the people and that we want and that'll really push humanity forward, they're like, oh, well, it's complicated. We can't just rush through this. There's so many different things we have to look at. But when it comes to messing things up or something that's just like a priority for them, we can bomb Syria. We can pass this judge. We can just do it like that. But when it comes to something that actually helps you, we don't know. It's complicated. It's disgusting.
And the people in this society are adapting that same sort of behavior, that same sort of mindset. They're like when it comes to like helping others and stuff. There's like or like very certain people, whatever. They're like, we're not sure if they're legit, or it's like, like can't they just help themselves? Why can't they get a job? Why can't they do A, B, or C? But then like when it comes to those
right,
and it's like all enact and just like more.
Here's the thing, because it's much easier to destroy and hurt than it actually is to like help and create and build. And that's why I love Andrew Yang, because he's all about like helping and building and finding a solution, while any idiot can just attack and judge and destroy, and that's the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, solutions are very hard to come up with. I do want to
judgment's easy.
Take just a minute to go back to Tom for a moment and ask him if there's anything he would like to like bring up for conversation, because I think we've only got you for about another 20 minutes, and like apparently we can go on forever.
Yeah, no, it's a great conversation. I guess I'll just throw out two things. One is, yes, people need help, and we need our government to be more responsive. I will say, the man was just sworn in on January 20th, and yesterday the House did pass a $1.9 trillion stimulus plan. So it's not like overnight kind of action, but it also is not like it took 6 months for this new administration to work with the House to get this through. We'll see what happens with the Senate, and I would imagine there was probably interest in reaching out to the other side to try and get some bipartisan support. And then we've also been dealing with the pandemic and getting vaccinations and getting, funds for states to kind of invest more in public health. I mean, I get it. I know we all are frustrated and we all want to see more. But I feel like, sworn in January 20, House passes a $2 trillion bill, Feb 26. It's not terrible. Now so that was my comment on the stimulus thing. I do also want to give a shout out to a project that I'm working on the side called Of the People, and it's designed to encourage more local candidates to run for office, especially city council, county commissioner, mayor, city board. These types of roles are not the most sexy, but number one, they actually can give help to people. They actually do things that everybody in the community can see. And then number two, folks that play those roles generally are kind of like the talent pool for who gets considered for congressional runs. And that's something that I think we've learned with the Yang Gang for Congress stuff, where you can do it, but oftentimes I think 80% of winning congressional campaigns, they have served in a local office prior. So Of the People is basically like a Yelp for local candidates, and it's a nonprofit, and it's all volunteer. So I just wanted to give that a shout out if anybody's interested.
We should definitely log that in one of our resource channels for permanent preservation.
Yeah, awesome.
What's the website again?
.us.
Of the people.us. Quick follow up on that. Have you talked to go on.
Oh, I was just saying that's amazing. If you
have you talked to Yenny DeRoche? She was on the show yesterday. She's running for the mayor of Worcester, Massachusetts.
Yeah, Yenny is one of the first Of the People candidates that's listed. So fantastic. Thank you to Yenny for being an early adopter. And we actually got a lot of Patreon support for the project, and all that money is now going to go to running ad campaigns promoting Of the People, so more people discover the site and then discover the candidates on the site. And then the goal is then folks like Yenny can get more supporters, more donors, and that's how it starts. It can take time, but my hope is that 5 years from now, someone on Of the People today becomes a congressperson and then can vote for more action and more basic income support and a lot more reform.
I love that. I'm going to have you back on the show soon with like 4 or 5 people from Of the People, because that is a project
that would be amazing.
We really have to talk a lot more about. We are trying to coordinate the campaigns of disparate UBI allies who are running for municipal, state level, federal offices, anywhere. And absolutely starting at the bottom is where we have to start in most cases. Before I let other people talk again, I just want to suggest 2 other people, so they're on your mind, who are going to be running for mayor. One is Refluence. He has been on the show many times, and he wants to run for the mayor of Maui. He's pretty young. He could use some guidance, and it could be a good long-term project for him, He's in Hawaii, mayor of Maui. I love it. It's alliterative. I love saying it. And so I wish he were here, but I will tell him about Of the People, and I will encourage him to reach out to you, and hopefully you will meet him. And I have not mentioned a word of this to anyone. I'm an old music guy, an old musician. One of my old music friends has just contacted me for the first time in like 10 years. And he's a really ostentatious character named Billy the Fridge. I talked to him at 1 a.m. last night. And I told him I'd really moved from music to politics as my kind of core passion and chief focus in my life at the moment. And we just kind of came up with the idea that he should kind of run for the mayor of Seattle, and that the sort of fraudulent veneer of respectability culture really needs to be directly attacked, which is something I brought up. I saw Eric Weinstein talking about this on podcast yesterday. But anyway, Billy the Fridge is going to run for mayor of Seattle. So thank you for that. Guys, take the rest of the time.
So now, Tom, that we have your ear, do you have any tips for us as Yang Gang Roundtable, because tomorrow is going to be our 1 year anniversary. I think you are our 172nd show that we have on here. So how do you get people like Yang to come on, and then how do you kind of like corral an audience, because we have the substance, we just don't kind of have the people to look. How do we do that without being like too bothersome or too people's faces, or is it just naturally go maybe another like 100 more episodes and then it's kind of just like up from there?
I wish I had a silver bullet. I mean, I think it's something that we all as content creators struggle with, frankly. Like if you ask any creator, they're always thinking about how do I grow my audience, how do I get more reach. I think it's also particularly hard for folks that are aligned with Andrew, because him running for mayor is super exciting for New Yorkers. And I think in the long run could be really exciting for Andrew and his ability to contribute down the road. But it is also a little bit off the radar for a lot of mainstream Yang Gang, if there are such a thing. And so I think if you look at a lot of the Yang Gang creators, Yang Gang content, there is a bit of a plateauing for all of us. And my advice, what I've done is after Andrew suspended, I started trying to just cover other topics that may not be necessarily super, aligned with Andrew's campaign in particular, just to kind of cast a wider net. And I think that can help. I mean, certainly my channel grew a lot with coverage I did after the election, of the election counting, and then the kind of challenges to the election, that kind of thing. But I also think even if we only have like a few people listening to this conversation now, if it's something that we're all passionate about, like it's still adding value. And maybe none of us are going to be the next kind of PewDiePie or whatever, but that's fine. Like I think we can still have positive impact. And I'm super impressed and congratulate this channel on hitting that milestone. I mean, it's a lot of work, as you all know, and kudos to you for keeping at it. And I hope you still do it, because in the long run, Andrew, I think, will be a national figure again. And I think when that happens, like we'll all be ready in a way that we weren't, we can even do more than we did last time around.
Before you go, I would like to ask permission to DM you with a few projects that I would like to talk about.
Yeah, sure, of course.
I don't like to just like randomly DM people. It's
I'm following you on Twitter, so yeah, you can just DM me.
Okay.
I'll look out for it. Yeah.
Well, Tom, I feel like we barely got to talk.
But I
think for another 10-15 minutes, and it doesn't have to be all about me.
Yeah. And I think what I really think is beautiful about this, now that Yang dropped out, is that a lot of the bigger guys are noticing a lot of the smaller guys, and we're all kind of like growing this ecosystem. Because not all of them, but let me just say this part. When Yang was running, it seemed like there was a Yang Gang cool kids table and everybody else. Now, I think that cool kids table dynamic is kind of like melting, since everybody's kind of plateaued and we're more accessible to each other. I just want to say,
I think it's melting very slowly.
Maybe not
though.
as fast as it can be melting, but look, we got Tom on here, and he was mentioned on The View by Whoopi Goldberg. For that. Okay. So yeah. So we'll just leave it. I have a very good memory.
Tom does have a following. It's not like he has like a couple hundred people following. It's like he has a following.
But look, Izzy, with that, I'm just saying with this attitude, the thing is that let's not be negative. Let's just focus that the ecosystem is kind of, more inclusive and not as Cool Kids Table as it was when Yang didn't suspend his campaign yet. I'm just gonna say that. I'm just saying I'm noticing that, and I just think that's ultimately a good thing. I don't know.
Listen, listen. What I'm focused on right now, more than anything, is like trying to help me and my close friends, because it's like we don't have time to waste, or to build or whatever. Because mind you, like it takes especially like doing this content creating stuff, like it takes a lot of energy, and and it takes a while for me to like set up, or and I'm still working on another video, like weeks on end, and due to my health, I'm unable to like really like put all of my energy into that, because I barely even have any, and it's due to like the situation that I'm in. I'm literally living in a place that has messed up my health, and in order for me to have any chance of of survival, or even make it to 2024, even becoming a full-time content creator, or even working or traveling the world running for office, all this other stuff, I need to get into a place that is away from a lot of the noise and the drama and stuff, so I can heal and detox. And mind you, healing isn't always a good thing. Like sometimes it could be a matter of life or death, and the longer you stay, the lesser chance you have of surviving. So that is why it's very crucial for me, and I don't have time to work on like being nice or positive or whatever. So it's crunch time, and like just like my friend over in South Africa, who's pretty much like, she has the personality of like Evelyn Yang. She's pretty much, but she's being ignored, and I'm trying to like help her out, but that's hard, and that's not really helpful. And I'm trying to get as much help I'm trying to get as much like as many like hands I can get, but no one's really like doing anything. It's like I'm talking to a wall. And also like everything, like it costs money, and leaving costs money, and all these things. So, and without money, without any sort of like financial assistance, like it's nothing that could be done. I mean, but the thing that just find upsetting is that when it comes to like looking after each other and stuff, like during like the snowstorm, right? Like what happened in Texas and all that. Like people were they were they were knocking on neighbors' doors, and letting each other in, and shoveling the snow together, whatever. There was none of them saying like, "Oh, do you have a job?" or "Oh, I'm not sure if I should let you in. Like, you seem very suspicious. You might be a scammer." There was none of that, and yet like I'm feeling like it's the only time we're ever like compassionate, or caring of others or whatever, is when disaster strikes. Because like that's how it appears. Or when like if that person has thousands and thousands of followers, or if they know so and so, or if they like a big name on TikTok or whatnot.
Right.
It's like the cloud. It's the
Yeah.
cloud culture you mentioned.
I
So it's
know.
like,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, and I
yeah.
talked to that with Tom, and like, see, Tom's. It's not just me; it's Izzy too. But like, point taken, Izzy. I can understand where
I
you're
will
coming
say
from.
that you weren't
Yeah.
referring to like everything to be positive about, just like specifically this situation where the Yang Gang is starting to notice and see other content creators and try to reach out to people. That's a good thing. We can acknowledge
Yes.
good things as well as bad things. We not everything is doom and gloom, and if we try to apply doom and gloom to everything, you're going to burn out. Your heart's
Yeah.
going to die out on you at some point if you keep on taking the hurt so far, Izzy. And
We're already dying. So what's your point?
my point is, you want to hurry it up. You need to relax enough that you can actually.
Well, you're already hurrying it up, so whatever.
I'm hurrying it up.
I understand.
That was
Testing. Testing. Okay. All right. We're up. Okay. We're back. For whatever that's worth. We're gone for about 5 minutes, I think. Maybe 6, 7. Discord is loading. So that was great. Super cool. RIP. As Jeremy says in the chat, RIP. So thanks for coming on, Tom. Way to represent the show, everybody. That's all right. Everyone's doing their best. I love you guys. I'm not mad. It's really funny and inopportune time for my computer to crash, as a moment of conflict broke out between me and Izzy. It's okay. We all love each other. Everyone's very stressed because poverty is terrible and we're being oppressed by our terrible leaders, the terrible elites, the duopoly. Yep. So let's see if Discord. Okay, there's the sound. Discord, and we're back.
Other militias, because it's like, those are the ones that I get frustrated over, and I try to fight for, because they've proven to me that they matter, and I've made it clear to them that, I even promised them, I'm going to get you out, I'm going to help you and help us on the way and all this other stuff. So it's like, and I don't want to go against that, but I can't do this all by myself. So I mean, that's why I'm going on here and going on these various places, and literally draining myself of little energy I have just talking about these things. Like I could barely speak or even write things out or whatever. Like it's and everything's a mess, and I'm 28 years old. I shouldn't be like that, right? So that is why it's such a state of emergency, and I can't just take my time, whatever, because I've had plenty of patience, and it's been completely wasted. My kindness has been taken for granted, and I've given people the benefit of the doubt, plenty of chances or whatever, and they walked all over me. They spat in my face, and it's like I'm just tired. I mean I want something done, and I'm trying to do my part, do what I can, but it's like, no, I'm not superhuman. So, and every time,
for what it's worth, Izzy, I mean, your voice is being heard right now, and people in this conversation and out there watching this are kind of being introduced to the level of pain that maybe they don't see in their everyday life, and hopefully that starts a ripple effect where there will be more openness to basic income and direct cash support, and addressing, the need for an economic floor and better health care. I wish I could tell you that there's a way that we can solve it all much faster. But I think if you look at, our history with Social Security, women's right to vote, civil rights, sometimes these things do take a long time, and a lot of people do not get the help they need.
Speaking of which,
in the time they needed it.
Speaking of which, Tom, Me Too is nowhere to be found. Since you mentioned women's rights and stuff, Me Too didn't even help my friend. They're nowhere to be found, and Black Lives Matter, they're nowhere to be found. And our stories are literally, we're part of those groups, and we have, those sorts of stories that make the news or whatever. Yet we're pushed off to the side. That is why I'm frustrated, because when I hear Jacqueline's story, when I hear Melicia's story, and various others, I'm sitting there going, where the hell is Me Too? Because that's a group that has a big following. That's a group that talks about we need to believe, these people, we need to believe all women, Black Lives Matter and all this other stuff. But they're letting, Black people who are suffering push out to the side, or even telling one of my friends who's not only Black and also but is transgender, part of the LGBTQ community. She was told that she's not Black enough, or saying oh, we don't want you in this group because you're not Black enough, or you have, or you're autistic or whatever. And I'm sitting here going, excuse you? And then the only ones that even helped her, this person was a conservative progressive culture in the French up north. Those are the only ones who were humanity first, essentially. They're the ones who saved her life. And and then it's like and whereas like those who preach about like lives mattering, like Black lives and people of color and women and all this other stuff, I literally have friends who represent those groups who aren't getting any sort of assistance. So you're talking about like not being able to get things done fast. They can do that. They have the resource, they have the movement, they have the following, but they're not doing anything for us unless our abusers, the ones that treat us like crap, were white, or if shoot out, or like if they were like attractive, or they had money themselves, or they had a career and all this other stuff. I mean, because imagine if Evelyn went through this, Evelyn Yang went through this, and like, but instead of having like imagine like if she didn't have a husband and a career and like wasn't on CNN or whatever, like or barely any sort of support, she'd be just like militia. She wouldn't get. She would just be completely forgotten. We even know how and how how great of a personality she has, or how important she is to this movement. And that's the point I'm trying to make. There are people like out here who can be the next Evelyn Yang, the next Andrew Yang, the next Ariel, the next me, the next Tom, the next Jimmy Dore. Like, she freaking Jacqueline's home is like Jimmy Dore, and or the next Cal Kalinske, the next whatever. But it's like we make our judgments based off of like what's on the surface, rather than the content and how they are. And then when we try to tell them what's up, they don't believe us, but they will believe those with titles, like parents, like those with authority, like doctors, like police officers and stuff. And it's like, the other point I want to make is that the more you wait, like you don't know what these people may become. Whether it's like, forget like being a serial killer, would they become a police officer or a teacher or another abusive parent or another bad lawmaker and stuff. It's like and we can't just sit back and go like, oh, what happened? Like, how was this even possible? We're like, it's like, oh my goodness, we should have done much more. We should bring more awareness. I'm sick of that. I've heard it so many times. And it's like the same thing keeps happening. Can
I ask you, Izzy? Can I ask you a question? What specific action can we take that would change the situations you're talking about for everyone other than fighting for UBI? Is there a specific action you would like us to take right now? To help you? Is there a PayPal you have of anything, a Patreon? What can we do to help?
Yeah, real cute. You already know the answer to that. You already know how to help, and
the point is to be able to save
because
on air, so somebody maybe can send you some help.
I mean, you did it. Sure, you did it for Christy and her friend also, and these other people, or even those who were officials. So it's like you've
what?
Never mind. I'm just talking random, because I don't have the mental capacity.
Mia. He's just kind of like venting, and those kinds of situations happen. But yeah, Izzy, as a friend, if you have put together some kind of like plan of action that you would like to see as like solutions, and list them, and then sometimes it helps, like, after you've vented, people can like look through that and actually listen to these voices that you think aren't being heard and all of these things.
I think he's probably tired of receiving organizational and logistical support is kind of the point he keeps trying to make. Like, he doesn't need organizational logistical support. He needs
I'm sick of hearing people here saying that they're supportive and they don't act like it. That's what I'm sick of. And I've been seeing that for years. And then they want to ask me questions like, "Oh, how can we help?" It's like, oh my goodness, yeah.
I hear you, Izzy. And
I'm not trying to be rude, but I feel like there's been some confrontational stuff here, and I'd like to take a little bit of a break Thank you guys for your time. And Izzy, I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings in any way. I am genuinely just trying to help you and trying to present perspectives that might help your state of mind, but I am sorry if it comes off bad. I do love you. It's part of the reason why you are on this show is because I invited you to come speak. Because I thought you deserved to have your voice heard. I'm not, don't laugh. I mean that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You definitely didn't mean that when you talk with Jacqueline.
Hey, look, when we're in a lot of pain and we're in defensive like mode and we expect to be hurt, you know.
I'm not willing to. I'm at the point where I'm just beyond pissed. Okay, like I don't mind saying names where I really don't care because like this is serious. Like good people that I know are just being pushed off to the wayside, and it's like and to like waste all my energy for this and like trying to like put a list as to like what I want or like not like be confrontational or argue or whatever. It's like I don't want any of that. I'm just trying to like help myself, help my friends, and like so we can have a long life and do what we want and not like feel as if like our story ends here. Because my friend is literally like right now as we speak, she's literally deciding whether or not she should kill herself. That's how serious it is. She's deciding whether or not she should kill herself because no one is helping her. No one. Like she's literally telling me because this like her family is trying to kill her and she's living in a freaking pawn shop, with these people for over 30 years, and it's like she could barely. She's paralyzed. She's going blind and all sorts of stuff. She's getting no support, none. Except from me who isn't a woman, but those who preach about like helping women or whatever aren't doing anything for her. Like I wish they would like tell me to F off and say like, oh, I'm just a masochist or a bad man or whatever, and say I'm gonna help you instead since you're a woman because we women got stick together. But they didn't even do that. They didn't even do that. So it's like, like, was this all a lie? Was this like? I'm sorry. Like I hate being like this. I hate like venting or whatever. But it's like it's just these people don't deserve this life. They don't deserve to suffer like this. Okay.
Not, yeah.
And I could care less about anybody else's feelings because their feelings come first. I've heard them cry. I've heard their pain. And it's like, it's not right for them to just be this. I even had a dream that felt so real. Where I was like in some mental hospital or whatever, and I'm like calling up my friend Militia, because I was getting anxious and stuff. And then someone told me, "Oh, are you calling up Militia? Like, oh, she's dead. But move on. It is what it is." This was a dream, and it felt so real. And it's like, because it was so real that I had to like call her up and ask if she was all right, if she was still alive. That's how real it felt to me. And I don't want to have anything like that. But I don't know. It seems like those sorts of dreams are just like premonitions. The way things are going now. So it's like I just want to make sure we all have a better life and we can like, gather around the table and like, have laughs and like,
can I interject?
It's like
others' company.
Can I interject a little bit? I think what you're going through is pretty heavy, and I think it's very apparent you're passionate and very the desire to help has not given you the resources to help, right? And hearing a million people say the same thing over and over again probably might be exhausting. I think currently you might be having some heightened emotions because of it. Of course you do. Of course. It's only human, right? But like
well, anyway,
we are on the same team,
yeah,
and that's all I want to point out.
Tough. The thing, yeah, really. I wish there was a way, but if whatever it is that we can do to kind of, I don't know.
I think there are things in the works right now that I've been witnessing just firsthand while traveling. The people I've been meeting with, the teams that I've been in contact with, there are nonprofits on their way to help grassroots movements. And I know this because I'm part of one of the people, right? And the problem that we are facing is we don't have a big enough arsenal behind us.
Jill, are
Something
you
that
still there?
happened very recently, something that happened very recently that I'm witnessing unravel is like there are a bunch of big colleges and big businesses and big nonprofits taking awareness of our situation, and actually, like, some things are on their way. But I mean, we have to be patient, unfortunately, but it oh, go ahead.
I know you have the best of intentions saying this. I'm pretty sure Izzy's been hearing precisely this for many years. Like, oh, we're just gonna turn the corner. It helps us around the corner, and like,
So,
I'm
so
sure I'm sure you intend it well
two
meaning.
decades
But
actually. I was also
here's
told that I should pray.
The disconnect is that what you intend as support simply comes off as antagonism because it evokes a trauma that is based on institutionally connected people saying similar things. So there's just no point in saying those similar things, even though they're well-meaning and no one here is like at fault. No one is intending anyone ill. This is the outcome of a very broken system and very hurt people. So I love you all. Izzy, I think Mia loves you. I hope you believe that in your heart. I don't know what else to tell you. Yeah. So that's my piece for the moment.
yeah. The thing I am talking about, though, you know, I get it, right? That we have so many systematic problems. And like, traveling the United States, I've seen that. I've met the people too, and my heart bleeds for them too. And like, I'm trying to refocus trauma as adversity that gains you experience points. And the reframing of that helps me think about facing these challenges as a way to level up. And, like, because I get reactivated by trauma too. Even just watching a TV show could trigger me, right? Because everything I'm seeing is painful. Even the dreams we have can be painful. They feel real. And, like, it's a lot. And I'm glad you're still here. Okay. I just want to put that out there. It's challenging. And I'm glad your friend's still here. But
Well, what I want to make clear is that the reason why I'm still here is because of them. The ones that I'm fighting for, the ones that I'm frustrated over for like being put off to the side. They're the reason why I'm talking to you right now. They're the reason why I'm not like dead or or in prison or whatever. They're the reason. The ones that I'm trying to save. They're the reason. They're the reason why I even discovered Andrew Yang. And I joined this group because I'm still here despite everything that's happened because I see the potential and I've met some people in this group, like in the Yang Gang or whatever, who were a lot like me, who were a lot like my close friends or whatever. But they themselves are also don't have much of a voice or like have to like say the right things or whatever and stuff like that. And it shouldn't have to be that way. Like this is my home. Like that's why I'm so quote unquote passionate about this, because it's like I want this to be my place where I can evolve, where I can grow, and like where I can find my tribe and like people to hang out with and stuff. But right now that's not what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is the same dynamic that I saw in high school. You have these other groups off to the side, right, having their own little clique and whatnot. But those who are introverted, who don't have the who are who are like who are treated like outcasts, whatever, who are different or some way, they're pushed off to the side. They're on the bench, and the only time they're ever brought into the group is when the teacher tells them to. You know, like that's what I'm seeing here. Like it's just it's a high school dynamic. You know, where it's like when that goes completely against our values and like us welcoming anybody and stuff and like respecting them and listening to them and doing whatever they can to make sure that we all have a better future and stuff. So like, you know, like that's why I've been trying to apply to myself, to others, you know, because humanity first, that's I believe that stuff. This had like, you know, math, I believe it, you know, and I don't want it to just be used as like, you know, as like
Simple
a weapon or an
catchphrase.
alibi. Yeah, exactly, a catchphrase. It's like it's because you know, if you have a conservative progressive movement that's able to do way more without even having to like ask what you need, and yet we're claimed to be the greatest country and have like, you know, all the resources or whatever. There's no excuses. There's none. So that is why I'm so upset, you know, especially because it's like, you know, it feels like we're just wasting energy and nothing is being done, and we're just sitting around talking or whatever, and like and I get it, like we don't have many a big audience, but it's like I'm also referring to, you know, those groups that praise, you know, those of the minority and say, oh, you know, let's believe women, let's help these black people, whatever. And people like myself and my good friends, like they're in those groups and they're being like either ignored or disrespected because they're not like everybody else, or they have a different perspective, different approach. You know, those like the brain bros who say not me, us, the same thing, the same issues, and it's unacceptable. We're supposed to be better than this. And I mean, isn't this is exactly what the people at the top want? They want us to be divided. They want us to like, you know, go against each other. It's a strategic method, and I'm trying to stop that. I'm trying to like, you know, bring the right people together and stuff, and you know, and so we can together, you know, fight this thing. I mean, and just
So
because
we have a special guest on our show today, and I'm curious if you have witnessed things on your end and in your social networks that might be able to contribute to some of these things that maybe are leads, even just someone like I can follow, you know, or what are your thoughts since you are, you know, a guest on our show?
Thanks for asking. And I have to apologize in advance. I will need to drop off momentarily, but here's my reaction to what I'm hearing. I think there, in my view, it can be helpful to decouple very specific individual examples from policy kind of longer term solutions. And I get it that when we talk about long-term policy, that is not helping, you know, militia or other people that we all know need help right now. But I also think it's one of those things where if we don't introduce systemic solutions that are scalable and can be applied uh, broadly across millions of people, we'll always be in this situation. There'll be more and more of these cases that we're talking about right now. And so that's how I look at it. Like I try and help every day in my own ways to advocate for change, to support organizations that provide direct relief to people. You know, we can never help all the people that we'd like to just because of resource limitations. But, you know, on the bright side, like there's a guy running for mayor who's trying to propose $1 billion basic income program that will help 500,000 people in New York. And is that going to help everybody that needs help? No, but it is absolutely progress. And so that would be my kind of the way I look at it. And I'm not saying at all that this excuses the way people are mistreated or excluded or looked down upon. That's not acceptable. But I'm just trying to figure out, like, okay, how can we help the most people over the long term? And I believe that is through programs like basic income and expanded healthcare coverage. And I get it that's not going to help someone who needs help today, But if you factor this in like over the next 10, 20 years, that could help tens of millions of people. And that's how I try and channel my energy. But I also know that there's the reality of people we know right now that need help, and that sucks.
Yeah. Tom, I know you have to go. Refluence is in the channel now. I mentioned him earlier. He's going to send you a friend request. Please accept it. Refluence, this is Tom. He's going to help you become the mayor of Maui. He's going to help you become the mayor of Maui. He has an organization for that. So we're all working together to get basic income passed. It's not pretty. It's not fast. It's ugly. It's slow. It's painful, but it's happening. So thank you guys for everything. Yeah. Bye, Tom.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Tom. See you next time, Tom.
Yeah.
Great.
Pleasure.
I wish I hadn't been so late. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Welcome.
It's okay.
I'm also late.
Welcome, Harry. There was a lot of like heat and intensity going on, but it was all justified.
Yeah, I noticed a little bit of it, but the stream was like, hang on, plug my computer in. The stream was like really like frozen a lot of the time, both on Twitch and YouTube.
Of course it was, because whenever we have good content, that happens because we're poor, and there's no way to succeed if you're poor in America, no matter what you do.
What? Wait, did this happen?
We'll find a way.
Only when there's good content though. Like when we have a boring show, technically perfect every time.
Right.
I think that the problem is that we don't have good enough connection to really handle that many people all at once when we're talking really loudly and quickly.
Probably.
What
So
is this? We never have a boring show. What are you saying?
I don't know, man. You've only been here for a little while.
That probably means we should either find some way to get a better connection for like this sort of conversation, or we should try to like maybe like have more shows with fewer people on them at a time, maybe, or maybe have multiple shows going on simultaneously. I don't know.
Oh, we can't do that. Well, we've had shows with a lot of people on had no connection.
Oh, really?
Problems.
Oh, in that case, that was weird.
Yeah. Like
it's only when the content is good.
Just a
like the better the
so.
content, the worse the connection. That is
Oh my
the,
gosh,
the axis.
the
of
universe
connection.
is just trying to say something. That's all.
And it doesn't have anything to do with like number of watching.
No, it's the quality of the content. There's a direct relationship.
No,
there's an inverse relationship between the quality of the content and the technical production of the show.
That is really interesting. Is that actually true? Or is that just like
go through? Look for our best episodes. They have connection problems. Our bad episodes, technically brilliant.
True.
And you would never know.
Right.
It's only audio.
I can't tell if you guys are being like facetious and joking, or if
because the world
really
is very funny and very sad.
The world can be an asshole sometimes.
I can't tell if you guys are being literally serious or if you guys are just being sort of like semi-facetious.
I can't tell either. That's the beauty of it.
There literally have been episodes that are really fantastic that did get cut off, and then we only caught the first half hour of it, and the content was like intense, and it was amazing, and gone
it was raw.
forever. And it was with like a major YouTube star, like, you know, like, so it was just, you know, and it was very fierce.
Like you jinxing yourself. You jinx.
Right, something like that. I don't know. It's really weird. It's kind of like when I'm in a room, you know, before I used to be a conservative. And I remember that before Trump was president, I actually had them invite me to Las Vegas on a road trip. And I was on a road trip with this libertarian guy and this black woman from Compton, which Compton is an area known for like not being that but not being that rich and stuff like that. And it's known for being dangerous. But she was like this black conservative, a young millennial from like Compton. And then when we got to when Sean Hannity was doing his show, mind you, this is back when I wasn't really the same person. I kind of looked at Trump as a guy who was going to change things. And so then all of a sudden, like I was standing there and Sean Hannity was just like 2 steps away from me. And I wanted to talk to him about like school and how they're not teaching like practical things. And then all of a sudden, like the black woman from Compton that I was at, she was like starstruck being around like Eric Trump and Sean Hannity and stuff like that. She said that they're gonna have me on. You go back there. You go back there. And I was like in the car with her for like 45 whole minutes from like LA to Las Vegas. But now that she's gonna get the spotlight, I'm like a nobody now. So I go back there and then when I finally want to talk to like some of these conservatives about some of the things that maybe we can like agree on and stuff, just idiot like they just rush up onto the stage and they're like and then it's like wow, I didn't even get a chance to like say my piece or talk to anything because of clout culture, because people become idiots when they're in the presence of like someone with a lot of fame and a lot of clout and a lot of something, so it all becomes noise and nothing really becomes signal,
Right.
So that's just my story about like those days.
There was something that I really wanted to say for much of the video while I was like watching bits and pieces of it. Is that and this might be a bit of beating a dead horse, and I'm sorry if last time I talked about this it was kind of not in a good place and didn't really explain it really well. But the thing is, this entire equation has changed in the past year, because like most people were just freed from wage slavery because of the pandemic and automation, that deadly duo, so it's like most people were freed from wage slavery. That means we got a lot more collective brain power to solve problems with, at our disposal. That's basically never been the case before. Like we had this giant population boom in like the 1900s, but like, and for the past 4 centuries, over the past 4 centuries, but like, we didn't really have the chance to really take advantage of that and leverage that population boom until like last year, because most people were stuck slaving away at these useless dead-end jobs for centuries,
or just sitting there at a desk like playing solitaire,
Exactly.
Right. Or Minesweeper.
Yep.
like and then when the boss came by, they pulled up the tab of like the work stuff.
Even though they were already done with it and they didn't have anything left to do.
Right. It's such a joke. It's such a joke that humanity plays on itself, that this corporate crap plays on itself.
Yep.
Just look up the book Bullshit Jobs by David Graeber. It's all in there. It's all just in there. Like, these jobs don't contribute shit to society, waste people's time, make people frustrated, and people get paid the big bucks.
What if they were shell companies? What if they were just hideouts for like illegal money,
for sure.
Like, I mean,
they
there's
could
probably a lot of fake businesses that exist that could just be a cover for something.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do with that?
Right. Well, I would argue that probably most companies, when they get big enough, they get hollowed out and lose all meaning and purpose. But then they just claim that, evolutionary.
But it's amazing that we have boomers. Yeah, for sure, Harry. But it's amazing that we have boomers who are all like, no, if you mess with that, you mess with the natural order of things and society will crumble and we'll all be doomed. It's like, get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, that would have been the case before we had enough automation. I mean,
that's true.
Like, we would have had like mass famines if we didn't have people working the farms before we had machines to do that instead. So it's like, it's a sad truth.
It's just that they haven't evolved their thinking, and innocent people are suffering.
Well,
for it.
okay,
I'd like to smack some of them.
We need to consider that we don't know how to repair anything that has been given to us. Okay, we don't know technology on how to repair it, or even old cars, or old systems that are broken. We don't know how to repair houses sometimes. We don't know how to repair. So we break things. We bought a new one. Well, now we have no money to buy new things. Okay, so now we either need to learn how to repair it or sell it so we can buy a new one, like.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, and that goes back to our education. Some people have the parents and the teachers who teach them these things, and some people have the parents and the teachers, especially if you come from affluence, they just say, don't worry about it. The maid will take care of it. The mechanic will take care of it. Like, a lot of people who come from affluence, then they're just so you. And then when some people come from affluence who want to learn it themselves, they're like actively told they shouldn't be doing that because it's not. It's not where they belong. They don't belong like doing those things and like like Trump's brother. I mean, let's Trump's older brother becoming a pilot. Oh, what are you? A bus driver in the sky? He he died from alcoholism because he like flying planes is so awesome, but his dad didn't approve of it, and that ate at him so much that he drank himself to death. Yeah,
that's terrible,
right? I know. Yeah, it's sad that there's so much judgment. Go ahead, Harry.
And like honestly, it seems like if more people had more money to spend, considering how that would mean that roads repair jobs would be in super high demand if there were if people who were going to pay for them actually had the money to do so. So they'd probably be really, really rich, like because if nobody else would do those things,
for sure, Harry. Plumbers make more, and electricians make a ton, and philosophy and science majors not as much as these plumbers and electricians. And yet, if you come from affluence, it's like, don't you dare! Yeah, like it doesn't look good on our family name,
right?
Everyone's so worried about what people are saying about them instead of talking about the ideas that matter, right?
Yeah, I've seen it firsthand. I was talking about like every single time I'm on my way to some big place or big function in the car, like the family's all like, don't say this and don't do this and don't wear that and don't say this. And then when you meet this person, say this. So that'll make you look good here and that'll make you. I'm like, oh, just shut up. Shut up. Just let me be myself.
You know what I say?
It's how they maintain their power and stuff, because it's like,
right, yeah.
Because like the pen is mightier than the sword, and what we're seeing now, I think, is that the pen is mightier than the sword because the pen tells the sword where to cut. So
right,
so all these pen people we have all these pen people, like these writers and storytellers, competing with each other to control the people who control the swords. So it's like. And so if they like break their narrative at all, it's like then it's like they lose the loyalty.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it, Harry? The politicians never hold the gun and go into the battle and shit. It's like our generation, the people our age, they just sit on their lazy ass and just tell people to go destroy things and bomb things and hurt people while they're over there sipping their tea and eating their cakes and stuff and in their big warm houses while they send other people to do all their dirty work. And I think
and then controlling the people who control the pens. So
right, exactly.
The pen is mightier than the sword.
They're the ones who write it. The legislation is written with the pen, and then the sword is the military that goes out and does it. So unless we can like Ojeda, if we can get like all these Richard Ojedas in the military, they just say like, you know what, you wrote it, fuck you, I'm not listening to you. I don't care. Then we'd break that.
I mean, I think part of it is also that they've learned how to use their pens to manipulate other people who hold pens.
Okay.
So
can I tell a story here real quick that somebody recently told me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
So essentially, they're like, okay, you have a live theater. Okay, you got a whole audience and an actor on stage or actors or whatever, and everyone stands up and leaves. Guess what? The actor might change the way they're acting. They respond to the audience, right? They will try and be like, oh, no, you should stay, and so they might actually change what they're doing because everyone else has changed their mind, right? And so it's actually the audience that controls the show more than we realize, Maybe we just need to look into that dynamic, Another thing somebody compared, like there's different levels of involvement in things. So think about a magician, okay? There's the magician who does the trick. The audience wants to just be mystified by this experience, right? They're like, wow, I love the magic. I just want to believe the magic. And then you have like maybe the janitor who's seen it 100 times, like, hey, I know the trick. You want to hear the trick? I learned how to do it, blah, blah. And then you actually have the magician who went out there and learned the magic trick and was able to present it to people. But I mean, think about that world that exists, right? There's different perspectives and different desired outcomes from the scenario. But then we also got the advertisers that's like, yes, give me the money. Okay. So the thing is, we have a whole world of people involved in just one magician's empire, you know? So like we have to consider what roles we play within like the whole world. We don't see our little part in a lot of ways. America, we are the entitled ones. We are the privileged ones, just being in America. And so it's almost like we could be the ones to help other countries too, and then we just build up other countries and other people. And maybe they're better at math. Maybe they're better at understanding the land. Maybe they're better at family. And if we started interconnecting all these little connections simply because we had the ability to and the initiative to, that decision is what impacts people. But if you have words that are like hope, hope does not actually have action within any of its definition. Decide moves that stone. It doesn't grow the moss on it, right? So if we choose better keywords that have movement and use that as our mantra, so much more could change. Stop hoping, start deciding, you know?
Is that why
Yeah.
the decider
No,
was
I will
better
also
than
say,
the hope guy?
I totally agree with you. And 2 points I want to say is that one, the fact that America is the one better, that we in America tend to be better off than in a lot of other countries. Like, considering how horribly, like, poorly, badly off we are, that says a lot, you know? Because if we're better off, you know, like, I don't think it's a matter of privilege so much as less punishment. You know what I mean? Like,
Whoa. I just like to add a caveat to that. Yeah, like, well, the thing is that like our richest of rich are better off than like a ton of people, but Scandinavia, they're better off in like Finland and Norway and all this, like and Canada, they never go through this, and a lot of Western Europe is like it has systems to maintain some kind of base level of structure, whereas here in this country they've dissolved those systems. These rotten assholes, you know it's different, man, and we're starting to
I guess maybe I should just clarify that I'm thinking of like all those like other countries that are third world countries like ours, basically, where it's like there seems to be a divide between like the third world and the first world, and I think that
the richest third world country in the world.
Yeah, we're the richest third world country in the world. That's basically how I would put it. You know, so we have a better off than third world countries.
Yeah, Harry, I heard that like foreign aid is like getting money from poor people in rich countries to give it to rich people in poor countries.
Yep.
Yeah,
that sounds about right.
It's kind of like that, but it's only because that if we choose not to be distracted by all the hype and all the insanity, then things can really change. But people are just, there's too much bread and circus going on. Yeah. Maybe the reason why more people aren't here looking at us and they're out there, it's that there's an ego side of people that just wants to be titillated, that just wants like instant gratification.
I disagree. There's definitely not enough bread going on with the circuses. There's plenty of circus, but there's not enough bread.
That's true.
Yeah, I would say that too. There's plenty of circus, not enough bread. And I would also say it's not because people just want to be titillated. It's because probably a lot of people, their lives are so empty and they have so little access even to quality circuses that that's all they can get a hold of a lot of times. So they just take what they can get.
So something I've been noticing while I've been traveling is like the pandemic kicked a lot of people on their ass, right? Especially everybody. It really kicked a lot of people in the ass. Okay. And that actually like made them get kind of depressed. Some of these people lost businesses. Maybe their health conditions finally caught up with them. Maybe, maybe they were let go. Maybe they had to find a new house. Maybe they got out of a bad relationship finally. Maybe, right? Statistically, these things are happening anyway. Okay. But like now, they've been sulking in misery a little bit. They've been coping with stuff, right? And, what they're looking for is a spark, an inspiration, something to live for again. And the problem is we don't have enough people able to reach them to activate them and being like, hey, you want to join a movement that's huge right now? I would love you to plug in, right? But how do we do that? The thing is, there are so many nonprofits and corporations and schools and everything else, all these institutions that have been built that have wasted resources. Schools actually have a lot of untapped money, okay? How do you get them to just release that money back into the population? Do we have to get people to school? Well, no, that's going to make them more in debt, right? But we kind of need help with school.
I've actually had an idea. I haven't really talked with too many people about this, so I'm not too sure how good of an idea it is, but I'm going to put it out there anyways. That Yale and Harvard both have multi-billion-dollar endowments. Well, my proposal was that why not have Yale fund a basic income experiment in New Haven? Because New Haven has a lot of people in poverty living right across the street from people who are obscenely wealthy. That's the way New Haven is. Like, you have desperate poverty right across the street, where on one side of the street you are perfectly safe, the police will come and protect you. You cross that street, no one's coming.
Oh wow.
That's unbelievable.
That is the way.
So we have first worlds and third worlds right across the street from each other.
Yes.
Wow.
But
that's so embarrassing.
But the way I was thinking, it's like, well, how much would it cost how much would it cost Yale? Depends on how much they want. I was thinking, if they give everyone in the greater New Haven area $6,000, $1,000 a month for 6 months, as a demonstration, it would be the most expensive experiment that Yale has ever conducted. But it would be to the benefit of the people of New Haven. Where, okay, we will give everyone in the city of New Haven $1,000 a month for 6 months, and we will rigorously study every little impact that this has on the town. How does this affect the education of people outside of town? How does this affect the way people's home life is? How does this affect literally every little detail about how people live their lives in this city? And Yale is one of the few institutions in this country that could afford to easily do that. It would only cost like $1.6 billion. But Yale has an endowment of like $18 billion.
Wow.
Now, don't quote me on those figures. I don't remember the exact figures. But it's still like not even a tenth of what they would have. Not even a tenth of their endowment. And they could massively improve the quality of life for all sorts of people in this town. And they would also be able to prove once and for all whether a universal basic income would work on a large scale.
So I want to jump in with the school's involvement, right? There are a certain select few schools that it might be, I'm not sure about Yale specifically, right? But there's a lot of cliquish behavior, a lot of, oh, you messed up, well, I got your back, but you better get my back when I mess up. It's a lot of that, like, bro code or whatever, from just what I've heard, okay? So I don't know. I haven't been there. I can't, I could be lying, right? But there are a lot of these institutions that have the money, but not the leadership within them to direct to research projects? Or, are people studying nation building? Could we get people to better find subject matters that are connected to grassroots activism even? How do you get these people to invest in you if you can't even afford to go to the college, right? Because if you go to the college, you could just apply for this or apply for that, and you get money. Maybe you get your housing paid for and your research paid for, right? These are things that are possible for people within institutions. But it's not
Well,
available to
I
everybody.
guess we
They're
can ask.
insulated.
If we ask and they say no, then we gotta look at the why not. And I think that the thing that should bring them the most shame is we're gonna dig into their no. We're gonna dig into their why not. And then they're just if they just say that, if they just say like, oh, we don't feel like it, we're gonna be like, are you not a part of this community? Are you not
I
a
know.
part of did people who
I think
something
it's
like
more
that?
that they want to see the plan of action with A through Z on how we're going to pull it off before they even consider it. Like, I think they
Yeah,
want to see
exactly.
the work, but we don't even have the mental
Okay.
bandwidth to do it, sometimes. So
Yeah,
it's like you really got
Sometimes,
to
yeah.
find the right people.
But I mean, it's not that complicated. It's just like, okay, just these people, this much money to their bank account at this time, every time. That's the plan of action. And then we're going to see what the research yields as the results on like their mental
Well,
health
but
and their
there's so many
ability to
hidden
deal with
costs
things and
to
stuff
this
like
stuff,
that.
right?
Mm.
Are people going to get bank accounts? Do they all have bank accounts? Do they know how to use this stuff? Like, could we literally plug in all these people? And the schools would
Well,
have to have people legit fix the structures, which would be great.
I guess they would have to have them. That would be up to the people, because if the people knew that this was happening, they'd be like, okay, like sign me up for one, and then someone would be there to sign them up for one, and then we'd say, then that's not your responsibility to make sure these people have bank accounts or not. We'll take care of that. But then when they
Well,
do, and then
because
something like
people
that.
didn't even get their stimulus checks.
Yeah.
I have tried calling the IRS. Guess what? I got hung up on, right? By the automated bot. That's rude. Okay. And
Yep.
I've had other people help me with the forms, and they're still having issues. I've had people talk to people that I didn't want to talk to because I'm so pissed off at them, right? And so I'm trying to track my lost stimulus check at this point, and there's no help for me, right? And so even if I was part of
I
this,
thought you said went to a house.
guess what? It didn't. So what do I
Oh,
do?
it
I don't
didn't?
know. So
I never received
okay.
any of mine either.
yeah, and so we don't even have the people coming in to hold our hands through getting the process. We can't
Right.
plug in even if there was something. So there's going to be hidden costs. Some people
Right.
might not have bank accounts because they have overcharges. They can't afford to have a bank account, right? So they have to find alternatives, which means a learning curve to learning how to even plug
It's
in.
it's very sad that these same institutions of learning don't even teach people the basics of how to plug into systems that can really help them. I think that's a
Oh, they teach
travesty in
their
and
own
of
students.
itself.
They teach their
Well,
own students. They don't necessarily teach the communities that they're in, but they do teach their own students.
right. Yeah, but I'm just saying everybody is like kind of forced into a public school education unless, they're special. So I'm saying it's even a travesty that I'm not even talking about university. I'm just talking about like high school not teaching about
But
plugging
see, the
into
problems are our
systems and
childhood is
stuff.
not going to be it's not going to be the traumas of the next generation. What we've
Yeah,
gone
for
through,
sure.
we're going to
But
be
they're not
whining and pining
updating.
for, and it'll already be solved, and we won't even know it. I think
Yeah,
because all the
like I
answers already
agree.
exist.
Yeah, but they're not they're what's the word I'm looking for? They're
Being applied.
sure that all these generations coming before me are going to have the same education that my parents had. I didn't have the education of my generation. I had the education of my parents, and I'm pretty sure Generation Z is going to have the education of the boomers. Go
No,
ahead.
but you completely miss out that we've been documenting everything, and we have Google and YouTube for millennia. We have
Right.
so many people pumping out content and we are competitive. We like to get to the best content. We like to make it as refined and pretty as possible, right? What's happening is one person might make a GIF here and combine it with a different GIF, and now we've just played with content that's been made, and this whole like copyright shit is becoming outdated. So that's great.
But I'm saying
social networking
yeah, no. I'm not saying education is in what they can find on the internet. I'm saying education is in the schools are still teaching them the way that our parents have been learning.
Yeah,
That's what's scary about this whole thing.
I think we just need to stop for 1 second, take a breath, maybe take a nap, get some food in our belly, you know, and be like, okay, guys, we fucked up, or it grew too fast. Can we just fix the problems and do something about it, right? But the problem is we don't even have time for a nap or a snack even, you know? And so like that I think is why UBI is a great important step. But I mean, even the idea of UBI, there's so many hidden factors. And the only reason I even thought about this is because I was thinking, man, if I was trying to get it to just 1,200 people, I don't think I could. There's not enough Wi-Fi for people. There's not enough cell phones. There's not enough bank accounts. There's not enough foundation, you know, and we can't overlook the foundation. But we are stepping into a reality where we need to start making sure everybody's a little caught up.
I mean, money.
Well, that's the thing. People like Yenny, like the one that she's. Yeah, exactly. People like Yenny who her she's running at the municipal levels. We just need tons of people at municipal levels to, you know, work their way up the ranks. But Harry, I interrupted you. Just a thought.
You know, I think we both interrupted each other. I think money is just green paper. You know, it doesn't mean anything inherently. You know, it's just a piece of paper, a document that says, please do a favor for this person on my behalf, you know? So it's like, so if you don't have that green paper, it's like you don't have the document that says that you are allowed to have that favor done for you. You know? So it's like if nobody's doing favors for each other because they don't have any of those green papers.
Well, if you think communicating UBI is hard, imagine communicating the fact that money's not real.
Right.
That's not gonna fly over well when people.
I know. But the money's not real.
Everybody pulls out their hair. But what is real is just the humanity between people, and that's why that's like what we've seen. Just like your ability. Yeah, your ability to like use your creativity, assess situations, problem solve, make tools, use those tools, like all that is real. But then we think that, oh, the people who don't have these green pieces of paper aren't worthy of being part of the system because they're morally at fault for not having these things. But that's so far from the truth, because the way we've designed it is that some people don't have the foundation to build off of. So that's kind of like the thing. It's kind of like saying, if someone's car breaks down in the desert where like there's nothing for that person to use, oh, that person is morally at fault. No, he's in a desert with nothing. Bring him to a city, bring him to a town, bring him somewhere where we can talk and communicate with other people. But the thing is that the people with like financial situations that are bad, they're like in that desert in like they're in a social desert, not like that kind of desert that like doesn't work. So if we just acknowledge that, UBI will get these people out of the desert and bring them into somewhere where they can contribute. That's the thing. And so people are still stuck in this chicken and egg. It's like, which one comes first? Your willingness to work hard and be a good person, or the money, you know? But it's like, no. Like without money, those things are hard to come by. Even if you have the will and the desire to contribute, this obstacle is keeping you from contributing, you know? And if we just got to spread that message in good faith. and people are coming around. It's just taking a while.
I think we need like something like universal basic education access sort of thing, like on a grassroots level, you know, like because I think that if you combine it with UBI, it'll create this sort of feedback loop where it's like where like UBI spreads better education,
The best
spreads UBI, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, the best we can do is this, and I've seen it. Get the charisma and tie it with the reason. Get someone like Donald Trump accept UBI advocate who can put on a show, who can get people riled up and steamed up and like really energized, except instead of for bullshit, for UBI, for human-centered capitalism, for that. I think that's a winning formula right there.
Well, honestly, I think that if Trump had gone up, I mean, if Trump had run on Yang's policy platform, and if he hadn't screwed over our foreign allies who our military had worked with, he would still be in power right now.
Right, but we need a Trump-like figure that's pro UBI.
Oh, okay.
That's what we need. You know what I'm saying?
Like,
If we combine the energy and passion and kind of like skills of Trump with a pro UBI message, I think I can do that.
Lots of people like that on a lower like grassroots sort of level, like at the local level.
Right. We just need thousands of Trump-like personalities that are pro UBI.
But it doesn't
need you know, right.
It just needs to be people who are as bold as him, you know?
Right.
Like,
yeah, exactly. Just as bold as him. Right. Yeah.
So I think the thing that we also don't consider is actually how much computer programming of like making brand names and making bylaws and making all these documents. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of mental bandwidth, right? People get paid thousands of dollars for logos sometimes, right?
Yep.
And like all the connecting networks and stuff. You really almost have to find the people that are really good in those fields in order to do that paperwork, because they need that paperwork, right? And so if we're asking for change, we also need to ask the people who are willing to like plug and chug, you know? And so we could talk all day long, but we still need someone to plug and chug this data, this information in order to even get money.
I think that's where stuff like Leyline comes in. You know, I think the when we make like humanity first kind of like gaming and stuff like that, and make it fun. You know,
not just that. I think that, I mean, the way I would put it is that real life has the potential to be much more engaging and immersive of an MMORPG, much more fun than a lot of video game MMORPGs, if we actually give people the chance to like learn and participate, if we actually like reach out to people and to each other and help each other up. And I will also say that in regards to, like, you know, having all that work and documentation, you know, and having to do all that, having those so few people having to do all that work, that is, I think, a direct result of how over centralized our infrastructure is. You know. Instead of going for like so much stuff, we need to go for more breadth, you know? Instead of having these few ultra specialized, hyper competent people doing tons of work, you know, instead of taking that intense route, we need to do more of like spread out the work a bit and the responsibility a bit, get a lot more people doing a little bit each, rather than a few people doing a ton of stuff, you know?
Well, okay, I think you're right.
I don't know
exactly
how that
right.
would work with some things, to be sure.
What we need is a template that people can just be like, okay, this means I get money. Okay, you mean that? Oh, I believe you now, right? I think people don't even believe what they're signing up for anymore. You know, they're like, well, I've been scammed 10 times. Why is this any different?
So instead of signing up for something that's
that's true. Well, you gotta introduce consequences to these jerks who like bullshit and lie to people, and that's the scary thing about the internet. You know, back in the day, if you were a snake oil salesman or a scammer or a hypocrite or you know just an asshole who lied and cheated people and took their money, they'd run you out of town. They'd say like, get out of here. But with the internet, you can put on a veil, you're anonymous, nobody knows, you change your name, you do this, and there's so many ways that these scum can just, do these little parlor tricks to like get away with it, and nobody knows who they are. I think we really need to crack down on
but I want to
that.
pause you. Okay. The reason they're even doing this, if it's not for their own enjoyment and for their own like toys they get to play with, the reason is conditioning, manipulation from when they thought like, oh, this is what I gotta do. Social pressure. If that's the expectation of you, your culture, or anything else, then you might indulge in it, right? There's a lot of people that are like India. There's a lot of scammers, and like there's proof of things like this, right? But they're in America. They're everywhere. What are you talking about? They're not just one area, right? People like to pick on it, but the reason they're even doing it is not because they necessarily want to, but because they have to, right? If I want to pay for my mortgage, kind of have to, because I don't want to lose the empire I just built. That was a lot of effort, right? That's a business I invested my life into, my soul, my time, right? And so if you have everyone that is trying to build something, instantly having this risk of it taken away, then you're going to be a little extra cautious. You might actually be a little more crappy to somebody else because you need a bigger nest egg just in case, right? And so we keep hurting people because we have to sell our dignity in order to make sure our bill.
Oh yeah, that's the vicious cycle. Yeah, the cycle. So we need to turn this vicious cycle of like, and this is what MLMs do. People who like join an MLM because they paid for like the starter fee, then they just said, "Oh, you pay for your starter fee by getting someone else to pay for a starter fee." And you may be so unhappy and angry in this MLM that you're like, "Oh, okay," but then you want other people to join, and then they're holding the bag, and then they want someone else to join, and then they hold a bag, but then
And
a virtuous cycle.
We can't stop rent payments because of this. This
Right,
exact cycle
exactly.
is the reason why, because I have to pay my mortgage, so you got to pay your rent, and then so I need to pull it from you because I am being pulled from, and I don't want to be in trouble, so you better do it, and then that pressure gets projected onto the next person.
And in a lot of corporations and management, the same thing is happening with like upper management, middle management, and the lowest of the low. And then the lowest of the low bear the brunt of all the stress of the higher ups. I think, and that's why it's you gotta feed the roots, because without the roots, the whole system collapses. And the UBI is those roots. It's like, okay, we know, but then you keep pulling from the bottom, and then the bottom falls out, and everybody just like drops unless they're one of the point whatever percent that sucks away from this entire system.
We've been talking
about in the drop that's coming. They think they're gonna get out, but there is no planet B, as they say. Mm-hmm. They can't go to Mars.
I mean, even if they went to Mars, it would be like the first like 2 minutes of playing Minecraft, right? You might die, okay? Like even if you were there, like
yeah. What have you guys seen that? Have you guys seen that movie Elysium? I think like okay, so like all the fancy schmancy rich people built like a space station.
Bezos' dream, to be honest.
Right. All the fancy schmancy people built like a space station like orbiting Earth, and Earth was just became a dump. It was just like too hot to live in, and like nobody was happy.
Like Wall-E.
By a robot. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like an uglier Wall-E. But yeah, it's just we're just on that path, and I don't know, but I kind of have hope for the newer generations, because they're as sick and tired of this crap as we are, and they faced more of a brunt of this. I think, I don't know how long these reptilian freakish that we have in charge of our country are going to finally go away, but whenever that happens, that's when we kick it into high gear. And gotta take over.
The thing is, this entire conversation we've mostly been talking about the problem space, and we haven't really talked quite as much about how we can actually like implement solutions ourselves. And something
we
that
have.
we said earlier, well, we have to some extent, but mostly we've been talking about the problems and this vicious cycle and how intractable everything is. But I want to focus on something that Faye said about how she said that we need to inspire people and give them a template, an example that they can sort of like just pick up and run with, in order to plug themselves into, And you were also saying about how like how people don't trust like if somebody gives them like something to sign up for, and they're all like, I don't trust you, you're not going to follow through on your promises, blah blah blah. I'm not going to sign up for whatever it is. So instead of having them sign up for things, give them a template for something they can build themselves with what they already have.
Yeah.
Like
Well, okay.
like
I want to touch on this.
Like,
okay.
Sorry,
Go ahead, Faye.
Okay. So I have been trying to start my own nonprofit. Okay. And I am not the one necessarily building it because I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. But I am working with somebody who is trying to nation build. Okay. And so the Discord page that we have, in combination with other Discord pages that I've personally built, has documentation. It has examples, right? And if you combine that with, say, this Discord page, we also have articles, we have solutions, we have a lot of stuff. It's just not organized, right? We don't have it organized in a way that people absorb the best, which is either a TV show, a short little clip, or something, right? It has to be digestible, because there's so much you have to almost teach in order for people to even comprehend the problem. And you almost have to walk them through the learning process. And then that starts representing something that sounds a lot like school, right? But
I would say that if there's too much for any one person to learn, split it up so you have lots of people learning things, and different people are taking care of their own small piece. So if you have the right kind of template, you can make it more digestible by breaking it down to smaller parts.
But you can't have a school system where some people learn addition, some people learn subtraction, some people learn multiplication, and some people learn division, and none of them learn the others.
But we're not talking about merely learning addition, subtraction.
I'm not talking about merely learning addition either. That's just a simplification of like there are some processes in various situations where you can't know just part of it. You have to know enough, and that could be a lot of information that you need to know.
But I mean,
but if some of them are too lazy, it's better than nothing. like some of them don't even if it's just a piece.
And I would also say that like because people are so demotivated, we need to give people like quick, easy wins that they can get right away. They can build off of. Like that's why I've been saying like people should like for one thing
and maybe when they learn that little one thing, they'll be more inspired to learn the next thing.
Exactly.
So we don't make it like that meant because when you say that this is all of it, then they're gonna be like, oh, I don't want to, I'm tired. But then you're like, oh, it's just this piece, and then they like that piece. They're like, oh, then what's the next piece?
Exactly.
So you gotta kind of experiment with that stuff.
And people already have skills.
One of the things, One of the things that reminds me of. One of the things that you just said reminds me of some ideas that I've had. It's like we need to gamify civic engagement. We need to turn that into like, okay, more than just voting. It's like, congratulations, you'll get several points if you go to a town hall. You'll get several points if you go to just various group meetings, like register all these groups, register through an app, and as political organizations, and it's like, okay, you can get points if you attend these meetings, and the more meetings you attend and the more groups you attend, the more points you get, and every so often when you reach a certain amount of points, you get a certain reward.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Good idea. Anyway, you guys, I gotta jump. off because I gotta do a little bit of ley line stuff, even though like they're almost done too. But yeah, this has been great. Just keep going, and I'll watch the replay from here.
Bye.
I mean, the thing I'm thinking is that like basically this template that you're kind of like sort of talking about that we need like on a grassroots level. I mean, I think part of the problem is that our whole society, we've forgotten how to lead from below. We've forgotten how to lead by example by building things ourselves rather than just giving orders to other people. So it's like everyone's trying to climb this ladder in order to get anything done, but they don't need to climb the ladder to get things done. They just think they do, because all our lives we've been told you can't unless you have the authority, unless you have the authorization. But it's like people have skills, people have brains. So it's like we need to tap into the skills and the abilities and the passions that people already have. Because those skills and passions they already have, that's what's going to get them their value and get them where they need to be. And to get both individually and as communities.
Part of the idea, I think, behind some of the work I'm doing is a choose your own adventure walkthrough, right? Here's the walkthrough. You can choose to do a thing or not, and maybe there's even Easter eggs I didn't show you, or maybe like you found a different video game you plugged into a different one. I don't know, right? But here, that includes, having bylaws. That includes filing for a 501c3. That requires some of these things if that's the role you choose to play, right? But if you do that, can you find the other crew members in your party? If you're who's in your clan, who's in your tribe? If we use video game language and strategy, it really hijacks the situation, because like we already know that language. Some of us, right? Not all of us have ever played games. Some countries might not even know how to use a remote control on a game system.
Right.
So, but it's confusing at first, and you got to learn the moves, and then you maybe get a little better, and then you get a harder level. But if you figure out the little chemical releases in our brain, the dopamine, the serotonin, all the stuff, right? How do we activate that in a way that actually affects the planet around us, in a way that helps us? And part of that is recognizing what the actual inevitable human needs are, right? And people don't know the proper care and feeding of their own avatar. This is an avatar. I mean, I got the controller in my head, right? Or am I an NPC? So I can choose to move my body in the right direction, and everybody could. But a lot of people just need to love themselves first, right?
Right. Well, I think loving yourself is much easier when you start actually like, finding reasons to love yourself. You know what I mean? Because it's like it's easy to just tell people to love yourself, but I feel like when
they
you're in
have
a
to
really
decide to love
yeah,
themselves.
exactly, yeah, but like that takes a lot of work and experience and work in yourself, and if people are too busy, dealing with like slaving away 9 to 5 or with a bunch of like financial oppression, they're going to be too stressed out to think straight in order to do that. A lot of times.
Yeah. So there are a lot of apps already in existence or being created recently, especially because of this pandemic. It gave a lot of people extra free time. A lot of people are developing their skill sets, their skill trees, they're leveling up things, they're getting creative. And in a lot of ways, this pandemic has helped us realize we kind of don't know what we're doing. And it's being a defining moment just enough that a lot of people are waking up.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. And I honestly think that the part of the issue, I think one of the really big things we can do is try to not just spread any sort of skills, but like what we need to focus on a lot is spreading social networking skills and media literacy skills. Because that will make it much easier for people to connect with each other, with people who have the skills they need.
The other thing, though, is we all are speaking English, but it's not the same language. You could be trying to communicate using a quote from a movie I've never seen, or a video game reference, or We're using references that none of us understand anymore because we're watching different content.
Yep.
When movies first came out, it was, aha, I can speak to you in this experience using this shared moment, right? We went to this concert. We had this collective experience together. Aha, we have language. If we don't have collective moments to share language, then we don't know how to communicate. And then imagine someone coming from a different country who just learned English, and we're talking with puns. They might not get the joke. Or we could be sarcastic, and they might not get the joke, right? And unless they're like, hey, can you tell me when you're joking? Because I don't actually know, because I don't have the same frame of reference. What does hair and a biscuit mean? I don't know.
Oh my gosh, I don't know either.
Great.
Yeah, and it's like, this is why so many of us are stuck on the internet without like a social circle in real life, because a lot of us don't share culture with people around us in person. And it's like, I feel like part of the reason for that is because things are so over centralized. So it's like, we need to start bringing things a little bit back to the local level so we can actually talk to the people around us in real life, rather than just on the internet, people who are thousands of miles away,
But people don't even know the language of body language, right? Is my body telling me something? Even do I know the signals my body's giving me? Am I rubbing my eyes? Am I actually tired? Do I have bags under my eyes? Should I be sleeping? Is my stomach rumbling and I should listen to that? No, we sit on our phones or we're at our computers or binge watching, right? And we're doing things unconsciously. It's like we're mesmerized.
Yep. So part of the reason for that is because a lot of us don't really have lives in the real world. We only have lives on the internet, a lot of times. So it's like, it's not just a matter of being mesmerized. It's a matter of people need to get their own lives. And a lot of people have been denied that or haven't had access to that or have a bunch of obstacles trying to stop them from getting that, And like, but I honestly think that like, in terms of a template that people can follow that's like really easy to get into, and they can like put however much into it that they want to put into it, For one, there are a bunch of things I would recommend. For one thing, I'd recommend people start an offline time bank. Basically, the way it would work is that you get a piece of paper and a pencil. Oh, sorry, a pen. Yeah, you get a piece of paper and a pen. You write down something on it like, I'm willing to mow someone's lawn for an hour or something, and then you post out on a bulletin board, like a community bulletin board, and you put in like it's community bulletin boards like you're like at a local church or at a bar or just at a friend's house that knows a lot of people, and you post it on that bulletin board and then see who picks it up. You put it with your contact information too. It's like, I want to do this. I'm willing to like mow someone's lawn for an hour. Here's my contact information. And somebody picks it up and somebody sees that on the bulletin board in person and they contact you, and you arrange a time to meet in person at a safe public location. So if you're part of the same trust fund network, then it's and then you schedule and you quickly schedule when you're gonna mow the lawn, and then you do it, and then each of you write down the starting and ending time for what you did, and then each of you signs off on it on that paper, and then you get the paper back and you flip it over, and then on the other side of the paper you write a request on it, so then you say something like, I want someone else to mow my lawn for an hour or so, and you post that on the bulletin board and see who picks it up, and then that person goes through the same process, but then when it comes time to flip the paper over again, there's not another side to the paper. So you get another piece of paper and staple it to that, and the cycle continues, So that would be an offline time bank, and you'd also want to be so like people would be preferring to do things or receive things that are about the same amount of time or less than the thing on the previous page, And you could also like have multiple papers at the same time, like you could have more than one offer or request on the bulletin board at the same time, that sort of thing, And of course, there's limited space in the bulletin board, so you sort of have to be respectful of like people's time and stuff, and how many people are in using the bulletin board, and maybe if it grows bigger, you need to get another bulletin board, things like that, But the basic premise is very simple. You just get a piece of paper, write down what you want on it, post it somewhere where someone will see it with your contact information, and arrange it that way, and then do something in return.
Part of, I think, what's overlooked here is agoraphobia, especially since this pandemic. So people are afraid to go outside. You're afraid to go outside, essentially.
Yeah, which is really ridiculous considering that the virus is much harder to spread outdoors than it is indoors.
But part of it is the news channel instills fear. Police departments or the friends even saying this stuff is terrible. The world is terrible, terrible, terrible. People are afraid to go outside. Yep. And then there's this big scary virus.
But the thing is, people are more in danger.
Still, so they would rather carelessly.
Which is why we need to move more of our infrastructure outdoors, where there's more fresh air. So the virus is much harder to infect. It's much harder for the virus to infect people outdoors. Like there is a My COVID risk app that I saw once. There's a My COVID risk app that I saw once. Like you can play around with it. I may be able to pull it up and link it in the chat. But like, basically, when you're outdoors, the risk of infection goes way down. Like
that was fine in summer, but it's winter right now, and it's like freaking.
Oh, are you sure? Because it's pretty warm. It's getting pretty warm here. Like it
depends on where you are.
Where I am, it's like basically like the end of winter. Like it's like getting in the 40s, 50s. I think basically what it looked like, And like it was like 40s yesterday, and it's much brighter out. The snow's melting,
Well, if you're gonna have a solution like that, it needs to be available for everyone, regardless of where they live. You can't just be like, all right, let's move all our infrastructure outdoors. Okay, well,
of course,
what are we gonna do for the 4 months of the year where no one wants to be outside?
Well, sure, but the thing is, it has to start somewhere. You have to build your way to that, Like, the idea I'm thinking is that, like, if we build enough grassroots infrastructure, at a local level in a particular geographic area, we can use that as a way to say, hey, this actually works. We can actually build this stuff, make it a template that other people can copy.
There's another thing that needs to be addressed here that's not actually being talked about. Because of people's desperation and survival modes that have kicked in, communities now fucking hate each other because you stole from me, you cheated on him, blah, 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 blah. Gossip, gossip, gossip. Okay, so you almost have to actually repair some of the
relationships.
The relationships, yeah, and and like forgiveness, but you almost have to create an environment where that's even possible, we've been.
Oh, you froze. Are you still there?
And then we blaming ourselves for things, and then we're just like, well, nobody's gonna
your
love
video
me.
Froze. Can you say what you said again? Your video froze. Can you say what you said again? You froze. Can you say what you just said again? I'm sorry.
No worries. So let's see, what was I talking about? What did you last hear?
2 seconds, and you were talking. Last I heard you talking about
rebuilding communities.
Rebuilding communities, relationships, and something about.
Okay, yeah, you have to create an environment where that's even possible, right? Yep. If you don't have that environment, it's not going to work very well. But also, you have to relieve a lot of that survival mindset, right? But people could be easily triggered, or maybe they don't know how to forgive, right? Or I think a lot of people actually might need relocation so they're not triggered with recall of traumatic moments, and maybe not the same toxic people, even just temporarily, even if it's just a year, 2 years, get a fresh perspective on this reality you live in. This is not the only world that exists. You can step into any reality you want, right? But we don't have the resources, or so we think, right? I mean, I traveled the country pretty minimally off money. I found techniques, but my techniques don't always work for
right. And you froze again.
Else, right? I'm a girl, etc., etc. But
last thing I heard you say
at least
was
in proof of concept that you can try.
Yeah, and you froze again for a few seconds. I think you said something about techniques not working well for everyone, and then you froze.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my phone's about to die. I might actually have to
you might need to plug it in. That might be why. Yeah. I've had that happen before. Where,
Yeah,
like,
but if I plug it in, it'll overheat, and then I'm definitely off. So,
hi Kai.
Hello. I've been unpacking and
oh, look at that.
Oh, nice.
So like we're working on getting settled in.
Cool.
It's good to see you, Faye. I'm glad you came.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Good.
Also, I don't think I've actually talked to you before on the channel.
I was listening the whole time. I was here with Tom and
I will go. I'm just gonna give my handle.
Yep.
Cool.
Anyway.
I'm just gonna say my name's Faye Doney. If I don't freeze, my user handle on Twitch, TikTok, Twitter, and Linktree is Tizdoney. TISD. And it's in the live stream chat for the rest of you. But I'll talk to you later, guys. It was good being on.
It's meeting you.
But anyways, yeah. So it's like, I don't think we need to like. I mean, we do need to change the environment that people have, but I don't think it's just that. I think it's a feedback cycle where, we figure out like how to like change a little bit, with the skills that people already have, and then the environment changes a little bit, and then that gives the ability to change the environment more, and it's endless loop, a virtuous cycle where it's like you change a little bit of your surroundings change a little bit more, and that enables you to make more changes that lets you impact the environment even more, because I feel like a lot of the problem is that people are demotivated by all this issues that we've had and all these like oppression and stuff, and so they don't realize what they can do, because they've been, like I've said before, they've been told they can't their whole lives, by their parents, by society, by the schooling system, by their cultures, so it's like, but the thing is, they can do things. They're not totally incapable of doing anything just because they don't have enough money, It just, the system has brainwashed them to thinking they can't a lot of times. Everyone has their sound off. Hello? Is everyone still here? Hello?
I'm still here.
Gotcha.
Eric's still here.
Yeah, because the thing was still recording, but I was the only one with my sound on.
Gone. I've been gone. No, I've been here. We are way past the allotted time, so I'm gonna end the stream here. So thanks everybody for joining us. You guys, I mean, I'm not saying you guys have to leave or anything. We can keep hanging out in the channel, but I'm gonna cut the stream.
Cool.
So, goodbye.
Eric, don't run off. I want to chat with you for a minute.